joining us. I'm Joy.
And I'm Laura.
And this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into season 1, episode 12, Faith. What did you think of this one, Joy?
I have mixed feelings.
Same.
I think that both of the boys look absolutely flawless in this episode. Like, they are so good looking. Okay, can I just say?
But even with Dean's ill makeup.
Oh no, that was actually really convincing.
It was.
He looked so sick, and I was like, do you know what? Respect. Because I feel like half the time when you have a very attractive actor or actress, people don't go, they don't go all the way. They kind of phone it in a bit, and they just like, oh, we'll still make sure that you look good. No. Okay. Dean looked like he was knocking on death's door, and I was like, oh, my poor baby. Yeah. That was not a hot look, but it was a committed to reality look, and I respect that, honestly. Straight out the gate, when we get into the episode, I will have a rant, because there's a scene right at the beginning that I take so much umbrage with. And that's gonna be like, I honestly look forward to ranting about that. I felt like this episode
rant even before that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm enthused. I feel like this episode was really important for Sam's character. Like, this was very much a Sam central episode. And I feel like we see Sam, there's even a moment where he's like, Dean, the way that Dean's like, Sammy. He's like, Dean. And it's adorable and beautiful. Like, from the point of view of storytelling, there are a lot of reasons why I love this episode and why I think that it is beautiful, but also it is a little bit hard going because it's dark. Emotionally, it's very dark. And it's hard. It's hard to watch Dean suffering and dying in front of us. It's hard to watch Sam want to save him, be willing to do anything to save him, and then realizing that he's accidentally made this kind of devil's deal where he saved his brother, but he's killed somebody else in the process, not obviously on purpose, but accidentally. But knowing that, like, we know Sam's character, we know how he's going to feel about himself for that, I feel like he takes everything to heart. And then Layla, who is played by Julie Benz, who plays Darla and Angel and Buffy, who I have the biggest crush on Julie Benz. I think she's so gorgeous. Like, I feel like she was pre-laughing. She was waiting for this. She knew this was coming. So, like, she's gorgeous. She's an incredible actress. And her performance in this episode, like, just rips your heart out. She's so sweet and so pure. And Laura and I were kind of discussing this a little bit before we started recording, but, like, you know how we're always saying that supernatural plays on primal fears, and this episode really plays to the primal fear of death and dying and illness, and like how that stuff isn't selective. Like, it doesn't care if you're a good person. It doesn't only target bad people. Like, suffering doesn't only go to bad people. Illness, dying, pain, like, these things don't only target bad guys. So good people also suffer and get sick and really go through the ringer. And in this episode, we really see that. And it really is difficult, because one of the hardest things I think to deal with in life, if you have a spiritual practice, is reconciling how chaotic it can feel at times. Like, when you lose somebody really good. And then somebody is really not good, is just thriving in a corner off to the left. It's so enraging at times. It's so difficult. And I think that this episode digs deep into the heart of that. I think it asks some really interesting questions about faith. About, like, it asks us to consider death and dying and our own mortality a little bit, I feel like. So the horror in this episode is really literally just the horror of dying. Like, the character that we're dealing with isn't a monster. He's an angel of death. He's a reaper. So he's not a bad guy. He's literally just the action of death. And it's only through the manipulations of
Yeah.
the preacher's wife, Sue Ann, who is the bad guy, who's the monster in this episode, um, that he takes anybody before their time. And like that's where all the hurt and pain and suffering comes from is the manipulations of Sue Ann. So
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of different things that we could unpack from that and discuss. But I think my main point really is just it's a heavier episode. It's filmed in a really desaturated way. So like a lot of it looks dark or gray.
Yeah.
And it has this gritty feeling to it the whole episode. There isn't really the release that we're used to in terms of like humor. Like there are a few jokes, but they're really spread thin. This
Mm.
one is a lot more hard hitting, I feel like. And honestly, I respect that. I still enjoy the episode. I still rate the episode. I think it's an excellent episode. I'm just like, I'm ready for a funny episode afterwards, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I liked it as well, but not as much as some of the ones we've had. Like we've had some. Well, I think I talked about it in the last episode, but like all the like Hookman and Bloody Mary, those kind of ones are my
Yeah.
favourites so far.
Yeah.
I like in this one you were saying about how it's kind of about how people face death and stuff, and it's interesting how they all kind of face it in different ways. Because
Mm,
Dean kind of gives up. Sam is kind of like fighting for him. Layla is kind of just resigned to like whatever happens will happen, and like her mum has the anger. So it's like how everyone kind of reacts differently to death is interesting for me.
yeah, it's almost as if the characters are playing out the different stages of grieving. Because I think there
Mm,
is some denial, some bargaining, anger,
yeah,
and acceptance, right? Um,
yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting for me as somebody who's been knocking on death's door in the past, my near death experience, to be really sick and to know that there's nothing that anybody can do for you. I've been there.
yeah,
And fortunately for me, I got my miracle and I'm still here. One of the things that I do enjoy a lot is even though it's kind of hard going, it's very rare that we'll see a story told from the point of view of somebody dealing with serious illness. Um,
yeah,
and handled in a way that I think is realistic. And I actually think Layla is really realistic and really well done. And I really enjoy it when the story is told from the perspective of a dying person and it's done in a realistic, careful, thought out way so that they are the hero. So like Sweet November, that's a good example. This episode with Layla is a good example. And then Midnight Club is another really good example of that. Um,
hmm
but I think that's representation that is underserved and it's really, really lovely the way that Layla, to a degree, Dean temporarily, but specifically Layla's characters is handling things. And you can tell she's sad, you can tell she's angry, you can tell she's frustrated under the surface. But she's somebody who finds her faith and finds comfort in that faith. And I also think that that's realistic too. And I think that at the
yeah,
end, her line where she says, "That's a miracle," when Dean's like, "I don't pray, but I'll pray for you." And he means it from his entire heart. And she sees
yeah.
that and she's like, "Well, that's a miracle right there." And then she walks off. I've always liked to believe that Layla makes it. Um, but even if she doesn't make it, I still find her to be heroic. I feel like there's a real strength in her that is
hmm
raw and honest, and I liked it a lot.
Yeah. As a first time watcher, um, I was a bit annoyed at the start, once again from having spoilers. I need to not I need to not read the description. It's hard though, because it's literally on the screen on Amazon before you click play.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can't not read the first sentence that's on there. Um, but I'm sick of getting spoilers, so I think I'm gonna have to just not read them. So the Amazon Prime thing, it says while battling a demon, Dean is electrocuted, resulting in permanent damage to his heart. and leaving him with only a couple of months to live. So before I'd even watched it, I'm like, what? And then I'd also definitely need to not read IMDb before, but I happened to look at this one this time. And this one is even worse and inaccurate. So the IMDb thing for this episode says, after Dean is fatally injured on a case. I'm sorry, he wasn't fatally injured. That implies that he is dead. He was critically injured, wasn't he? He wasn't fatally
Yeah.
injured. So I'm like, I read both of those before I started watching this episode, and I was like, what the hell am I about to watch? Because I thought Dean was dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't want to go on a massive rant about it, but can I just say, get it together, caption writing people, whatever those people are called.
Yeah.
Because yeah, I don't have to tell you again. And I
You
know
have
it's a
been told.
20-year-old show, but still.
Well, so what I thought was so funny was after we had that rant, the next one that I looked at, I don't remember if it was this episode or not, had like looking from my phone, not from my TV. I don't know what it's like on the TV if it's the same thing, but on my phone it was all blurred out and it says spoiler alert. So you couldn't see what the description
Ah,
was or what was underneath it. And I was like, "Oh, it's like they're listening to us."
wait, on what? On Amazon Prime?
On Prime on my phone. Yeah, 'cause sometimes I watch them on my phone instead of
Mm.
on my TV.
Well,
And
they
it
need to put that on the TV version.
on the TV version too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, get it
So
together, Bezos.
it did ruin that first scene for me, which I'll get into later, but because I knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, should I do the synopsis?
Yes.
This is season 1, episode 12, Faith. The original air date for this episode was January 17th, 2006. Dean is critically injured.
She's so angry. It's great.
So, Dean is critically injured after chasing a demon and electrocuting himself. He isn't given long to live, but Sam takes him to a faith healer who he thinks can help. They realise that he's the real deal when Dean is healed, but they find out later that another man had died in his place. They work out that someone else has died in place of everyone who has been healed by the faith healer so far, and decide he must be practicing dark magic to control a reaper who is taking all of these souls. Their investigation reveals that it's actually the faith healer's wife who has been controlling the reaper, and Sam and Dean stop her before any other innocent lives are taken.
It's a spooky, ooky
Um,
episode.
yeah. So this opening scene is we haven't seen anything like this before, where it's like straight in to the middle of some
Straight into the
action,
hunt. Yeah.
and it's nothing to do with the actual episode later on. So it's like a completely different
Well,
case.
it's on that case that he gets injured, right? So,
Yeah, but it's like we don't know what the actual case was. We just know they were in
yeah.
that
Yeah, we
like
go in
basement or whatever.
mid-action, mid-story. The story starts on the hunt. I thought that
Yeah.
was fun. Except for
Mm.
okay. The whole opening sequence up until like the part where Dean gets hurt is
Yeah.
fantastic. Okay, it's beautifully shot. The action scenes are
Spooky.
great. The stunt department is killing it. Creature design is amazing. Everything looks great, like practical effects. Um, and then I think a bit of CGI and things. Like everything looks so good. It's super creepy. The kids look all like grimy and like they're hiding in a cupboard, and you feel so sorry for them. And the boys look so heroic, and it is fantastic. It's a 10 out of 10. Okay, so good.
Yeah.
Everybody's hot. Okay, Sam's hot. Dean's hot. I get it all. All right, but then the first thing that got me, okay, is
Hmm.
how Dean gets electrocuted. Because all he had to do was go over to where his hand was on the dry concrete, where his little, like, what do you call it? Taser was. Okay, his
Hmm.
taser gun that was dry. All right, now
Yeah.
Dean can sometimes be impulsive, but is Dean so impulsive as to electrocute? Like, there is no way. There's no way in my head that Dean Winchester, who's been hunting monsters his entire
Mhm.
growing up life, we've seen how efficient he is, how smart he is in a fight, like how cool his head is. You cannot tell me that Dean is going to make a rookie mistake. Like, he's going to shoot a
Yeah.
monster not realizing that it's then going to electrocute him when he literally
Mhm.
takes one little slide to the right. Okay? like time warp. Okay, just one slide to the right. Okay, and it's like he's fine. The monster's dead. Everybody's happy. He's totally fine. Like I just think the way that that went down was so stupid.
Yeah,
It
I
made me
agree.
so angry.
Mhm.
Like if we're gonna have this happen, boys, girls, non-binary babes, okay, if we're gonna do this, then you need to make it realistic. Like it has to be something like something slams into him at the last minute and he gets knocked into the water and it's too late for him to do anything about it. And then tragically he also gets electrocuted. Or we see him in a situation where it's like he can shoot the monster, but he knows if he shoots the monster, he's sacrificing himself to save somebody else. That's realistic. Like
Yeah,
if the monster was about to grab a
yeah,
kid or grab Sam, you would see Sammy, and then he would just take himself out and the monster too. That's Dean Winchester. But like
yeah.
fucking accidental electrocution, he's not that dumb. Okay? You can't tell me
No,
that. No. No.
no.
Mistakes were made, okay? Mistakes were made.
Yeah. Yeah, when I watched it, I was like, he would know not to stand in water while he's tasing something that's also standing in water.
He
Like, he
even
would know
says,
that.
like,
I
what
think
did they say? Like, it was like 12,000 volts or something. Like, he even knows the voltage. Like, no, no, guys,
yeah.
no. I don't
I feel
understand how
like
that got past, like, production. Like, how did this get past the EP? Like, how did people sign off on this? Just storyline
well,
wise.
were they trying to make it seem like he was kind of a bit dazed and didn't really I can't really remember, but didn't he get because he got knocked over, didn't he? And I'm
Yeah.
like, were they just trying to make it seem like he's not really thinking straight
Concussed or
because he's
something.
yeah, but I'm like, even that yeah, no,
That
I don't
doesn't
I agree
sell
with
to
you.
me either, though, because we've seen
Mhm.
him absolutely brutalized in other fight scenes and not make a dumb mistake like that. Like,
Yeah.
it just doesn't track to me. Um, so this whole first scene is rejected.
It's
Like,
like they've just gone, right, we want for the plot, we want him to be nearly dying, so let's come up with something.
I just feel like, listen, if I, who has not formally written for a TV show, can in 30 seconds workshop how this would play out in a way that would make sense to us as an audience, then somebody phoned in. That's the only thing that makes sense to me about how this made it to air. Like,
Yeah.
is Dean Winchester. I get that you wanna have Sam take center stage in this episode. I understand that you wanna show Sam being the hero. I get it, and I understand why, and it's great for the plot and, like, the forward arc of the story. It's important, but this is not the way. No. Unacceptable.
Well, I had a point about what even was the investigation and is it important later on because I know because they mentioned demons. They mentioned this thing as a demon.
Yeah.
And as we know from the last episode, demons are clearly important. Well, I've learnt that I think that
Yeah,
demons
for
are
sure.
clearly important for this show, or at least the season or whatever. So I don't quite understand. Like we were given no context for this particular investigation.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think they even said it was a demon. I think that's in the episode description as well.
Yeah, I don't
Why
remember
are
if it
they?
gets said out. Like they say this thing, don't they? And they're like, I think in the
Yeah,
description they call it a raw head. I can't remember if they say in the script that it's a raw head. I'm pretty sure they do, but I think it like we're supposed to understand that it's a
is that a
demon.
demon? Okay, but like, why are they fighting demons when their dad is trying to keep them away from demons?
Well, I think we have to assume that either they ran across this case on their own and the demons are closing in, which we know from what happened in the previous episode with
Yeah,
Meg.
yeah.
Um or John sent them on this case, but it's just that we open it in the middle.
Hmm. I did like how they were this particular demon. They were trying to control it using electricity. I thought that was very Ghostbusters of them.
Yeah, that was really fun. I love the fight scenes. I love this. I love the whole start of this. My only real umbrage is with like the fight choreography and how he electrocutes himself because I just
Yeah,
think
it wasn't
that's
realistic.
it's just not true to
No,
character. It's not true to
no.
character at all, and I have a really big problem with that. But moving right along, okay. Um when Sam is visiting him in the hospital, Dean says, "You ever actually watch daytime TV? It's terrible." And I needed
Yeah.
to include that because Jensen got his start on Days of Our Lives, which is a soap opera,
Ah,
which is
yeah.
daytime TV. So it's like a little it's a funny little comedy moment that
Mhm.
I could not live without.
That was a funny bit. And this is where I had my note about Dean's makeup, his dyeing makeup looking good. I said it's
Yeah.
natural and convincing.
Yeah. He looks real bad. He looks like he's not doing good. He's not doing okay. So they go to the hospital and the doctor's like, Dean only has 2 weeks to live. And
Yeah.
Sam is really like, not if I have anything to say about this. I do love that Sam immediately kind of throws himself in and is trying to save Dean. So,
Yeah.
we see him calling his dad, which we know is a big thing for him. We see him like researching, like, and you can tell that Sam is treating Dean's injury as the case of this episode. So I kind of think that's how that
Yeah.
plays out. Um,
And he's like, the bit where he's almost crying, I just had a note to say that Jared's crying is good. His acting crying or nearly crying is good. That was
yeah, so
realistic.
that whole scene was so emotional and it was really beautifully done because I feel like he could have gone too hard and it could have
Yeah.
felt soap opera-y, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
But he didn't. He he's so subtle with it. He's choking back tears this whole time. He's barely holding it together this whole time. And I thought that
Yeah.
that was awesome. He looks very handsome. Okay. He's definitely the leading man in this episode and he does a fantastic job. For all that I am a Dean girl, and I say that all the time and kind of on repeat. Um, I will say that, like, I do get, like, if you are a Sam person, I get it. I get why you're a Sam person in this episode because he really steps up and you
Mhm.
get his character. Um, he's emotionally intelligent. He is so sweet. He is so determined to save his brother. Um,
Yeah.
he's very intelligent. He has intelligent thirst traps for you, Laura, all over the place. Like so much research. He's so absolutely like determined that there will be a way to save Dean. He just
Yeah.
doesn't even entertain the possibility that he won't be able to save his brother. And that for us as an audience really emphasizes how much they love each other and how tight the bond is. And we see that like all the fractures from before, like they don't really matter. They don't mean anything. At the end of the day, this core bond between these brothers is what is real. This love
Mhm.
is what is real.
Yeah. I like how he's kind of like not letting Dean give up because Dean is just like, "Oh, well, I'm dying." And he's very kind of defeatist about it. And
I was gonna say
Sam
stoic,
what
honestly,
bec-
because he's like, listen, it is what it is. This is what the doctors are saying. What are you gonna do about it? You know, stoic.
I'm not
Or
saying that his
no.
reaction is wrong. I'm just saying that I like how Sam's like, "No, I'm not accepting that. I'm going to find a way to make it better."
Hmm.
Um because Dean can't advocate for himself. So Sam is like
Yeah, because
advocating
Dean can
for
barely
him.
get out of bed at this point. He's not gonna be
Yeah.
able to do very
I
much, is he?
didn't like though. There was a quote of something Dean said and I was like, "Oh, I don't like that." When he said, "Oh, Sam's saying that they have options." And Dean's like, "What options? You've got burial or cremation." And I didn't like that line. And Sam's face after he says it,
That was so funny.
I didn't like it. It made me really uncomfortable. And Sam looks like disgusted and sad at the same time. And that is probably exactly how my face looked.
I think that that is Dean's version of stoicism, and I think that it's authentic too. Like he's making jokes. It's like gallows humor, but like literal gallows humor. He's coping the best way that he knows how to cope. Because Dean doesn't want to die. Like let's be real, it's Dean. Dean likes to grab life. He cares about life and living. Um,
Mm,
but I think that he's looking at what he's being told, and he who knows about all the monsters and the occult stuff and how it doesn't really tend to end well or be good for people is like, well, this is the hand that I've been dealt.
Yeah, but surely as he knows all the occult stuff and stuff that goes on, wouldn't he think, "Oh, well, maybe there's a way," because the doctors don't know, you know, that there's magical things out there.
Well, yeah, so that's Sam's point, isn't it? We're just doing
Yeah.
what we usually do where I take Dean's side and you take Sam's side. Um, because Dean's point, which I understand, is like, yeah, he knows what's out there. Because remember when they're walking to the tent and they're
Uh-huh.
sort of arguing with each other back and forth about it? And Dean's like, "Yeah, because we do know what's out there. I've seen it with my own eyes." And when you think about the stuff that he is talking about, like, name me a good thing. Like, name me a scenario in this world where he would realistically think that something bad is not going to happen. And like, he's right. Okay. He's actually completely right because he does get saved, but he gets saved at the cost of another person's life.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
he's literally on the money. And if I don't think we should have listened because don't get me wrong, I want Dean Winchester to be alive. But like, if we would have listened to Dean, Dean is accepting of his fate. He's going out like a hero, peacefully, calmly. Like, if he hadn't died in a stupid way where he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna electrocute myself. It's all fine." I, I would have a lot more peace with this episode. But anyway, like, we're gonna pretend, okay? We're gonna pretend that he got knocked in there or something, okay? Like, it's a dangerous job. There are very high risks to it. He knows that, and, like, he's accepting of it, I think. Um,
Mhm.
he's calm, and I think that we can only hope that if we get news like that, that we're capable of finding a calm center and some kind of grace in it, and I admire him because I think that that's what he does, and I think that's what Layla does in this episode, and it's Sam. And I'm so happy that he does interfere, don't get me wrong, but it's Sam and Sam's interference and Sam's choice to use magic that ends up A, saving Dean's life, but B, costing this gay teacher his life. And that's really
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Um, I would hope that I'd have a Sam who did that for me if I was Dean.
You want somebody who will human sacrifice somebody else for you.
No, not that part of it, but, like, tries to when you've kind of, like, given up or accepted it or however you want to word it, and then there's someone that's like, "No, no, we're not giving up." So anyway, to get away from that doom and gloom, when they go to the motel room, I've got another bone to pick with John Winchester.
Go for it.
So Sam is calling the voicemail to tell him basically, your son is dying. Does he show up in this whole episode? And no.
No, he does not.
And I'd forgotten about that phone call the first time I watched it. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, oh yeah, like he never shows up. He never does anything. So
Yeah.
anyway, so then Dean turns up at the motel room, which is quite funny.
My favorite part of when he goes to the motel is he comes in and he's like falling over. And Sam's like, "What are you doing here?" And Dean goes, "I'm not gonna die in a hospital where the nurses aren't even hot." And then he smirks. I was like, "I love you."
Oh, a Dean smirk.
That was so funny. A Dean smirk. So it's a specific kind of smirk. Um, and it's so good. That was so funny. That made me laugh out loud.
So yeah, so Dean turns up at the motel, and Sam says he's been researching and calling all of the contacts in the journal to try and find a way to help Dean. And he says he's heard back from one of their dad's friends who told Sam about a guy who could help in Nebraska, and he calls him a specialist. And then later on, we realise so Dean thought that meant a type of doctor, but
Yeah.
really it's the faith healer.
Yeah.
So they go to this faith healer. So they're driving down. In my notes, I wrote driving down what is barely a road towards a tent that looks like it's in the middle of nowhere. I'm surprised the car can make it down there without getting stuck because it's really uneven and muddy. And that car is quite a low car, isn't it?
Yeah. This is true.
Oh, we see the protester here as well. So the first time we see the protester, so he's being moved along by law enforcement and says that the guy is a fraud. He's kind of outside the tent, isn't he? And we see
Mhm.
him a few times. So let's bring him up.
Yeah, so we're at the point where they're having a back and forth where Dean is not. loving the fact that Sam has brought him to a faith healer. Like, he is not on board. He's looking around, he's like, "You're making me go into a tent? A tent?" And there's all these people kind of milling around them, and one of those people is Layla, who's played by the glorious, magnificent Julie Benz. Um, and there's a bit of banter between them, and she's like, "Oh, like, talking about his lack of faith and stuff." And they have a little bit of a conversation, but one of the one of the things that Dean says is, "I bet she works in mysterious ways." And I was like, correct.
That was
Julie
funny.
Benz is in fact a god. Okay. She is a god. Thank you for recognizing that, Dean. You're a very smart boy. We were on the same page, just the same page right there. And they go into the tent, and Dean is like looking around, noticing that there are cameras in the tent. So this is giving us that full like TV preacher, evangelical kind of a vibe. All right.
Yeah.
Um, and Roy's doing his thing, okay? And he says, "The Lord guides me in choosing who to heal." And Dean is like, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And Roy says, "He helps me see into their hearts," okay? And Dean says, "Yeah, right into their wallets." And I
Yeah.
laughed so hard. And there's a little bit of banter because Roy is blind and he has excellent hearing. And he's like, "You know what? I can hear what you have to say." And he's like, "Next time, be more careful if you're going to be talking shit about a blind guy because we have pretty good hearing." And Dean kind of laughs it off, and that part made me laugh. And I really
I
enjoyed
had
that.
secondhand embarrassment at that part
Did you?
because because when so Dean mutters something under his breath and he gets called out, and then it's like there's a piano in the background, isn't there? And the piano just stops, and everyone looks at him,
Yeah.
and I was just like, "That's really embarrassing."
Yeah. Yeah, Dean was pretty embarrassed, I feel like.
I thought it was funny how Sam, when they go in, Sam makes them sit at the front because Dean was about to sit down right at the back, and he's like,
Oh,
"No, we're
yeah,
going
yeah,
right to the
yeah.
front."
Sam's like, "No, no, 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 no. We're going right to the front." Yeah.
Oh, and he does
That
notice, just because it comes up later, Sam notices the weird cross, which they make a very, very tenuous link to tarot later on randomly. But they talk about that cross a lot, so I thought I'd just bring that up.
Mhm. So they refer to it as a Coptic cross, and I looked it up, and it is linked to the Coptic church, although the Coptic church isn't it's I wouldn't really say that it's adjacent to anything that we're talking about in the episode. I feel like that's more show
No.
lore than real
Mhm.
folklore. So I'm just gonna note that out as like that's show lore. That's their own thing. I do know that the Coptic church is one of the oldest churches in the world. So it's possible that it stems from there. However, when it comes to the actual like show lore folklore that we're talking about here with like uh getting the Reaper to do your bidding and all that other stuff, I found an article that's linked in my show notes that talks about Christian mysticism. Um
Mhm.
and when they're talking about, there's a line where they go back to the motel and they're breaking it down. And Sam talks about how back in the day, early Christians would like summon demons and stuff. That
Mm.
is it's sort of nonsense, okay? But it's nonsense that's rooted in history, where basically you have the Greco-Romans who are talking to new Christians. And from the new Christian point of view, they see the Greco Roman way of practicing religion as demonic. And the Greco Romans are looking at the Christians and seeing what they're doing and accusing them of practicing things in a demonic way, like summoning demons and
Mhm.
stuff. And so basically, as far as I can tell, it's nouveau Christianity arguing with itself about who's doing what correctly and who's talking to the devil, which typical. Can I just say so typical? Um, so this whole idea that early Christian monks were practicing dark magic or something like that is sort of adjacent to the truth. Like I don't
Mhm.
think it's ever really true. It's not ever really documented. It's like a rumor that gets started as early branches of the church start arguing with themselves about who's right and who's divine and who's holy.
Sorry, I don't really I anything to do with religion and Christianity, my brain is just like, I'm just switching off.
Ah, that's fair. That's fair.
Okay, so after this kind of banter with Roy, who's the faith healer, he then chooses Dean, doesn't he, to be the one who he's going to heal. So
Yeah.
Dean goes up there, and this whole thing was just really weird because at one point he looks like he's stroking Dean's head, and then it also just seems to be making him worse, not better. So I was like, what is actually going on here? And then Dean sees what he calls an old man behind Roy. And he was creepy. This is the Reaper, but we don't know that yet. Um, and I'd thought, oh, maybe he's a demon. He looked like a demon to me. But then I realised why on the second watch. And this might make you laugh. And I might have to put something on Instagram here because it's visual. So sorry. But I realised that he reminds me, and you're not going to know who this is, Joy, but the demon headmaster. Now, other English people who are around my age in the 30s will know who I mean, but I'm going to show you Joy a picture. So, The Demon Headmaster was a TV program from 1996.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. Uh-huh.
And I was like, that's the Demon Headmaster. If anyone remembers that show, let me know. So he's been healed. They go to a doctor's office afterwards, and the doctor tells them that Dean's she says the tests show nothing is wrong with his heart anymore, and there's no sign that ever was. And she says not that a guy his age should be having heart problems, but it's strange as it does happen. And then she says that there was actually another 27-year-old man who died of a heart attack yesterday, and they work out later that this happened at exactly the same moment that Dean was healed. So that means someone's being sacrificed to heal another person, the person that's being healed. So after this, they find this information out. Dean then goes to see Roy and Sue Ann, who's his wife. And he's
What a
talking to
bitch.
Roy. He's trying to find out how he got to the point where he could heal people. So he's asking when that first happened, and also why he chose Dean to heal. I just had a notable quote, which was when Dean says, "What did you see in my heart?" And Roy said, "A young man with an important purpose, a job to do, and it isn't finished."
I wrote that down too because I think that's really significant. Yeah, I agree. That
Yeah,
was
so it's like
really, really
Roy
important.
Roy can obviously sense some things, even though it's not him that's the one. He's not actually healing people.
Yeah.
While Dean's going to see them, Sam is going to investigate this other man who has died that they found out, who they think's died at exactly the same time as
Yeah.
Dean, and he basically
414 or
confirms
something,
that.
which
Yeah,
I thought was interesting
for
because it's like a repeated number.
I've got 417 is what I've written down.
Damn it.
But they learn he was healthy up until then, and he had said that something was chasing him just before he died. And then that's when Sam notices the clock has stopped. And that he says, "Did it stop when he died?" And the other guy says, "Yeah." And then that's how they know it was exactly the same time that Dean was healed.
And also that
And
it's probably
then,
mystical because, like, he
yeah,
dies, the clock suddenly freezes at that exact moment. You go, that's mystical fuckery.
yeah. And that is weird because, like, why? I mean, Dean mentions something about Reaper's stop time or something later on,
Yeah.
doesn't he?
Yeah. It's the
Yeah, so
idea of
it's,
like that you can slow time down or take time back, and the images, all the images with the Grim Reaper carrying the hourglass.
oh,
They
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
played with the idea of the Grim Reaper and the hourglass and time and decided that part of the lore is that they can manipulate time.
yeah. Okay. Um, so then we cut back to Dean, who is now leaving Roy and Sue Ann's house, and he bumps into Layla again. And this is where we find out that Layla's dying. So she has an inoperable brain tumor. And Layla's mum gets really annoyed with Dean. And I understand why, because she says, "Why do you deserve to live more than my daughter?" Because she's annoyed that Dean was picked over Layla to be healed the day before.
Yeah, from her point
And
of
I
view,
do
he cut in line.
understand. Yeah. But I understand why she's upset and frustrated because she's just wanting to help her daughter. But it's not really Dean's fault. And he even said when Roy chose him, he was like, "No, choose someone else."
Yeah.
So it's kind of misplaced anger.
Yeah.
Um, well, I do understand, but she's not very nice to Dean.
She's not a very likable character. Like you
No.
understand where she's coming from, but it just she's like broken glass, isn't she? Like you sympathize with the fact that she's broken and wounded and hurting, but she turns that outward and she lashes out at
Mm.
other people,
Yeah.
and it's just a bit unfair. So she is a difficult character for sure.
Yeah, I didn't really like her. So then we're at the motel, and Sam and Dean have kind of got back together, and they're discussing what they found out when they were separated. And Sam tells Dean that he has found out the other guy did die exactly the same time as Dean was healed. So he also explains that he did some research, which I put was hot, and found out that ev-
Every time.
every time someone was healed by Roy, someone else had died at exactly the same time of the same affliction as well. So they know that like one life is now being traded for another, and this is where Dean's really upset that someone died to save him and
Mhm.
his kind of guilt on that. And then he also says it must be a Reaper. It's the first time we hear the kind of monster's name. So as they are talking, we see a girl running through the woods, and then Roy is healing a man who has like an oxygen mask on. So he's clearly got breathing difficulties. And then the girl in the woods who's running starts to have problems breathing as well. And then the Reaper appears to her and chases her.
Yeah. The thing that got me is you have this vibrant, healthy young woman being
Yeah.
sacrificed for the sake of an old man who has clearly lived his life. Like he's like, I don't know, 80 or
Mm.
90. He's on his oxygen mask. Like, do I understand why he's there to get better? Yes. If you are having trouble breathing, you want to be able to breathe. I don't hold against him the fact that he wanted some healing. Like he's not the problem here. But what really
Mm.
upsets me is we see this young woman being sacrificed for this guy who's like his time is up. And I feel like that's part of the theme of the episode because according to the episode's logic, I know Laura's not going to agree, but according to the episode's logic, Dean's time is up. It's his appropriate time. And we also see like the Reaper is not the bad guy, right? Because the Reaper is being controlled. He's here for
Mhm.
people when it's their time to go. That's his job, to show up when it's their time to go. And the part that shows that this is sort of villainy and really illustrates that
Yeah.
so clearly, and it's not just like the unfairness of life, is when we see this young woman have her life stolen for the sake of this old man.
Yeah, I hadn't put that bit together. I hadn't noticed that. So that's yeah.
And then when we realize a little bit later on why, and it's the fact that Sue Ann is all up in her feelings about the fact that this girl is advocating for women's rights and women's rights for abortion, it
Yeah.
becomes so topical and so current. So she's literally just a feminist who is
Mhm.
trying to prevent violence against women and who's trying to ensure that women who and people who need access to abortion can get it. And for that, she's killed.
Yeah.
And her life is given to this old guy
Hmm.
who's lived his days. Like it's so poignant and so um immediately obvious how much of a villain Suan is when you realize
Yeah.
that she's cherry picking people.
Yeah, the people that she's sacrificing are ones that would do good.
Yeah. So um what we see is that the scene is so desaturated, like there's very little color in this whole scene anyway. The Reaper
Mhm.
looks super old. He's very white. He has very pale eyes. It gives him kind of a skeletal appearance
Mhm.
almost. And she goes from being really vital to having all of the color drained out of her eyes going white as we're watching, and everything just becomes more and more desaturated. And then we're seeing the old man smiling and like getting better. And it's becoming really obvious to us that he is obviously unbeknownst to him, but he's stealing her life force. Her life force is being transferred. But the thing that
Mm.
got me about the horror of this scene, aside from the fact that you literally see the life drain out of her and her eyes go completely white, and that's so creepy and so gross, is when he smiles, I don't know if this is CGI or lighting or what happens, but it just looks like this evil, overextended, like there's a shadow over his mouth. And it looked so
Mm.
dark and creepy that I was like, oh, that was good horror. That was
Yeah.
like her death scene and what happens here. That's really good horror. That really got me because that was so scary and it was subtle scary, not cheesy or cartoony. It was just like
Yeah.
terrifying.
I did notice the smile was weird as well, but I hadn't written it down. But I did definitely notice that there was something off about his smile.
Mhm. Yeah, it's super, super, super creepy. And it's just like it's like a Joker smile almost, but done in shadow. And
Yeah.
it's terrifying in the context, because in the context, he's smiling because he suddenly feels better, but we know why he feels better.
Mhm.
And,
Yeah.
it makes it a 10 out of 10 on the creep factor. That was like,
Mm.
"You'll hide under your blankets" during this scene kind of creepy, and it was really, really good.
I had a funny note about the Reaper because you just said he looked skeletal and like really pale. And to
Mhm.
me, do you remember the episode of Buffy with the gentleman?
The gentleman, yeah, he does,
Yeah,
he looks like
he
one of the
reminds me of
gentlemen.
them, and
Yeah,
they're really scary. And I think it's because he's wearing a suit as well,
yeah,
and he's really pale.
yeah.
Yeah,
No, that makes
they are
perfect
still
sense.
the scariest. That is the scariest Buffy episode.
Hush is the scariest episode ever. I think they won
Uh,
an Emmy or something for it.
yeah, the gentlemen are like haunt my dreams. They do.
Oh, they're terrifying.
So at this point of the first watch through, I was trying to work out what was actually going on because I was like, obviously we didn't know that it was Sue Ann yet. So I was trying to work out the motive of Roy, and I was like, so why, like the Reaper and the Faith Healer aren't getting anything from this because the Reaper will reap, anyone. He'd still have a soul to take away.
Mhm.
Um, and I couldn't work out why Roy was doing it, like what he was getting out of it either.
Yeah.
So obviously that made sense when I then watched the rest of the episode. But I was a little bit confused here because I was like, why are they swapping people? Why is Roy just swapping people? Um, but obviously it wasn't him. And then it makes sense later because Sue Ann is choosing people who she thinks deserve to die.
Yeah.
So this whole bit is happening at the same time that Sam and Dean are still having the conversation from before about the Reaper and the lore about Reapers. They're making the links to Reapers stopping time and how you can only see them if they're coming after you, which is why Dean could see him when he was being healed, but no one else did, and Sam didn't see him.
I thought that was an interesting piece of show lore, and I think that we're about to get into, like, the lore of the show when they start talking about, tarot cards and early Christian magic, um and then later on, they'll start breaking down when they discover who she's targeting and why she's targeting them. All
Hmm.
the pieces really fall into place. So for me, I thought you would have really specific notes about the death card from the tarot. Because they're like, well, the tarot dates back to the early Christian era, and early Christian monks were doing devilry. And I was like, were they, boys? Were they in fact?
Yeah,
So I went
I
to look it
didn't.
up.
This whole bit, it was hurting my head. I didn't do the deep dive. I was just like, I don't understand that tarot card because first of all, that's no tarot card I've ever seen, and I've never seen that cross on any tarot cards either.
Yeah, all of that part totally made up. So we are both tarot readers, and we can tell you that that is just show folklore. That is not folklore. Um, the
Mm-mm.
tarot is old, but the tarot is not like ancient old. It's more recent than most people tend to think that it is. Um,
Yeah, and it started as a game. It's not. It
yeah.
started as like a parlor game. It's not
Like if
evil.
Magic the Gathering, okay, imagine if Magic the Gathering in like a few hundred years' time, people have forgotten what it was all about and they start using it for fortune telling as like a fortune telling situation. That is basically what happened here. Um,
Mhm.
and there's also like, I've done research on this, and I honestly not for this episode, but just for my own, like, learning, I cannot differentiate because there's 2 different schools of thought on it, and I can't find one that's, like, definitively right, so I don't know if there's a little bit of truth in both. But there's one that tries to link tarot to Romany traditions and travelers and says that it's
Mhm.
a Romany thing, right? And then there's one that says that it's just an Italian
Mhm.
card game, basically played by the nobility, that then got adapted and
Yeah.
became mystical later, and people added mystical trappings to it. So, like, I don't know which one is true. Like, I've heard a few Romany people discussing tarot and links to Romany culture. So I do think that there is some kind of link between tarot and Romany peoples and Romany culture. But I hesitate to expound on that because I also am
Mhm.
aware that Romany people have been victimized by a really similar sort of way, that the way that Hollywood has portrayed, um, for instance, different ethnicities out of context with their cultural practices in order to vilify them, and sort of reinforce white supremacy. And that's horrible and awful. And Romani people have been the victim of like so much prejudice over the years that it gets really confusing. So I've seen things that link Romani people to tarot, but I would really hesitate to say this is where it originated because I don't know if that's true. So I don't know, like,
Mhm.
did did it originate in Italy as a card game? Or did it originate with Romani people? Or like, are there two different things, but they're really similar and people are confusing them? I don't know. I haven't found any historical source yet that definitively says this is absolutely definitely where this started and debunks everything else. I haven't found sources that are like, this is the answer. So I don't know if anybody has that information, feel free to write in because I would love to know.
I wonder if it's maybe a mixture because there was lots of different, like the card game version is more linked to kind of pip decks and stuff, I think,
Hmm.
um, and then it kind of all got adapted by the what's it called, the Golden Dawn. Is that the thing? Is that the like the
Yeah.
occult thing?
Yeah.
And when it got adapted by them, and then you had like the Rider Waite Smith was made and the Thoth
Hmm.
decks were made. That's then when it got the kind of divination part of things and kind of then starts, I don't know, when people start thinking it's evil.
Yeah.
Um, and just saying that the new film that's out as well doesn't do anything to help.
does not does not aid in debunking it.
It
Yeah.
no, I
No.
haven't seen it, but I don't really want to.
No, I have such mixed feelings because as a horror fan, I like horror. But
Mm,
as a tarot reader and a witch who's experienced a lot of firsthand like prejudice about both tarot and witchcraft, it's really annoying because it's just feeding the machine, isn't it? It's just feeding the machine of ignorance. And we're gonna have more and more
yeah,
people really determined now. And it's just like I have such mixed feelings because, like, on the one hand, they're not creating the prejudice, but they are adding to it. Um,
yeah.
and I think that they don't see tarot as a valid spiritual practice because I don't think they would do this. Well, I would say I don't think they would do this to something like Christianity, but like look at all the Exorcist movies. But then I feel like that's casting
Mhm.
Christianity as the heroes, not the villains. And we always get cast as the villains, basically. like
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. I just think it's reinforcing a lot of stereotypes, and it's frustrating.
Yeah,
And
and it's like, why do people really think that just pieces of cardboard with pictures on are evil? Like, I
yeah,
use tarot, I use it for like self-help, basically. I
yeah.
don't even use it for divination. And I don't know. I suppose it is just that whole divination thing because it's you're not supposed to do that.
Which I do all the time. Like I literally talk to dead people constantly through
Yeah.
my cards. Um, we all know how I roll. All right. But like the thing that gets to me is 99% of tarot readings from me talking to dead people is like somebody's grandma wants to tell them that they're doing a really good job and they shouldn't be sad and that they're about to find their way or something, you know? Like, it's
Yeah.
so innocent and sweet. Or it's your cards being like, "Bitch, you're not doing the work. What do you mean? What do you mean? You're 10 of wands, you're taking on all of these burdens, you're being hyper independent. Like, just let your friends help you." Okay? It's
Yeah.
like it's like getting dragged, getting good life advice, hearing something nice, or if it's spirit type stuff, it's like 99.9% of that is like, bitch, you be haunted, but in like a fun way. Or
Mm,
it's like your grandma wants to say hi, Like none of it's bad.
yeah.
It just, I get so annoyed. I get so annoyed.
It's things to like help you grow as a person, not like um summoning devils. I don't know. I don't know what
Yeah.
people think that people are using it for.
Well, I mean, I just think
But
it's like it's all that old school 80s style satanic panic propaganda, isn't
yeah,
it? Where
yeah.
they've been taught that anything like this that has divination attached to it at all is must be of the devil, because in their head there's only the Christian God or the devil and nothing else is real.
Hmm.
So from their point of view, if all the angels are in heaven and you're on earth talking to things, they really believe that you have to be talking to the devil and that everything is a deception. And I know this because I grew up in those churches. Um, and it's just so frustrating because there's like no critical thinking, there's no questioning of stuff. But like
Mm-mm.
that is how the religion is, because that's how they want people to be. They want you to be a sheep so that you can be told what to think. That's our second or third rant. You're welcome.
I feel like this is such a weird episode.
It's such a weird
Did you have?
episode.
Did you? Had you finished your like deep divey bit, or did we
All
just cut
right,
you off in the
okay.
middle of it?
So, um, monks and dark magic. I'm gonna put it here. Okay, I'm just gonna put it here. So, they talk about monks and dark.
I don't think you. Oh, okay. I was going to say, are you going to lead into that, or are you just saying monks and dark magic?
I like it. It's random. It feels on track. Okay. So we're gonna move from tarot over to the section where they start talking about monks and dark magic. So they bring up, Sam mentions that there's a point in early Christianity where monks were into demonology and they were perhaps doing things that they shouldn't really have been doing. And I did research on this because I was like, well, there is a lot of hypocrisy in the church, not gonna lie. So like let's find out how hypocritical they were in fact. But it turns out that from what I can understand, so I found a paper, it's linked in my notes. It's from Cambridge University. It's the Greco-Romans arguing with the new Christians. Now, they don't separate out and say whether the Greco-Romans are converted Christians, a different branch of the church, or what, like, which is just annoying. Like, if you're going to do a summary, do a summary. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, ground us and where we are. But the Greco-Romans are arguing with the early Christians, okay? The early Christians are saying that the Greco-Romans are pagan and heathens and they're devil worshippers because of the way they're doing things. And then the Greco-Romans are saying that the Christians are evil and pagan and devil worshippers because they're claiming that they are using the names of demons to do witchcraft. So basically, it's two arms of new Christianity fighting with each other about which one of them is being all pagan and dark and using demons. So, like, probably none of them. And in this summary towards the end, it basically just says that, like, you can see how what's happening is people in power are manipulating these different groups because they want to create social power and wealth for themselves. Okay. They're after the money, the land, the shiny things. They want all the shiny things. And what's the best way to do that is apparently to get people arguing with each other so that you can snatch power while they're busy arguing with each other and they don't even notice. And you're just like, haha, I now have everything. Um, so it's early Christianity stirring the pot amongst themselves and fighting amongst themselves. And that's where we get this idea that there were early Christian monks who were dabbling in demonology, when really they weren't. They were just arguing with each other about who was talking to God better.
Oh,
Laura's level of give a fucks for anything that Christianity is doing is very low. So enjoy that on the other side of this, on the other side of the airwaves over here, guys. Um, right. So next, I have them starting to discover what's going on.
Yes, they basically say that Roy must be using black magic to control the Reaper.
Yeah.
And there's a funny bit here because Dean is basically all up for killing Roy. He
Yeah.
just wants to straight up kill him. And Sam's like, we can't kill a human being. And just said that they need to find out what spell is being cast instead and break that rather than killing a human. I thought it was funny.
Dane's practical. Dane's like, Roy's the problem. We eliminate Roy. We
Yeah.
eliminate the
He's like,
problem.
we need to stop him. I think it sounds like, yeah, but how? And he's like, you know how. He's
Yeah.
like, you can't kill a human, Dean.
Sam's like, stop with the murder. The casual willingness to just murder. I'm going to take you in for some testing later, okay? That's how that comes across. That was pretty funny.
Oh, the next bit is funny as well, actually, because they go back to the tent, don't they? They go back to the healer
Mhm.
because Sam's going to go and break into Roy's house. But when they're getting out of the car, they're talking really, really loudly about spells and things, and they're totally unbothered that anyone might hear them, which I
Yeah,
thought
that's
was
great.
funny. And then
I
it's
didn't
like
even think about that, but that is pretty funny. Yeah.
they're talking so loudly. And then they bump into the protester who's outside again. And this whole bit was really funny because the protester's like, Roy LaGrange is a fraud. He's no healer. And Dean's like, amen, brother. And Sam's like, you keep up the good work.
Yeah, that was really good too.
That made me crack up.
Yeah.
So Sam goes off and he is basically breaking and entering into Roy's house. And that was a thirst trap. I liked it. And so he's trying to find the spell book. And he finds a notebook on a bookcase that has newspaper clippings in it.
And the newspaper clippings reveal to us that the first guy who gets killed was an openly gay teacher. And the headline says something
Mhm.
like that he's setting a national example to schools across America about it being acceptable to be openly gay in the classroom, which is a hot topic at this time and also when I was in school. And then
Yeah.
the girl we find out, the girl who got killed, she was an abortion rights advocate and she was advocating to stop violence against women. And then we find out the critic, the guy who's been outside the church saying that Roy is a fraud this entire time, he's been in the newspaper as well. He's been telling everyone who will listen that he believes that Roy is a fraud and that it's like a faith healing scam. Um,
Mhm.
and so we finally like understand the puzzle pieces are all coming together, that there's a really specific motive, and that these people who are dying are handpicked to die.
Yeah. Rather than just being a random person who the Reaper has found, they're actually sending him somewhere.
Yeah.
So from this, Sam just realizes that the protester is next then, and he rings Dean and says to not let the healer heal anyone. And then so Dean's in the tent and Layla is finally being picked to be healed. And I wrote down in my notes, her mum is gonna love it when Dean tries to stop her being healed. Awkward.
Yeah. Yeah. Like this whole section, I have never felt for him so much in my life
Uh-huh.
in season 1 as much as I feel for him now, because he really, really doesn't want to do this. Like, this is, I think, the first time that
No.
you see him hesitating over doing his job. He knows what his job is, he knows somebody else is going to die, but he knows what kind of person Layla is and that she doesn't deserve what's happening to her. And he's thinking
Yeah.
probably he's been saved. Why can't Layla be saved? But as hard as it is, and you really see him like truly struggling, and it's beautiful. Like, Jensen Ackles is such a phenomenal actor. You feel it in your bones. Um, he works out that he has to figure out a way to stop it. So he starts screaming fire from the
Mm.
back end of the church, forcing an evacuation. And then you get this reaction shot of him, and he is literally wrenched. Like he is so heartbroken. It's so sad. And then on the other side, we cut to the Reaper and Sam. Sam's trying to protect this guy from the Reaper, but obviously Sam can't see the Reaper. It's only the person who's being targeted, right? So it's
Yeah.
eerie. And Sam's trying so hard to like get him to a safe place, but where is safe? And he can't even see the danger. And so the guy's reaction and his point of view of the Reaper is the only thing that we as the audience can see. So Sam's asking him, where he is. And at this point, the Reaper catches the guy, and we start to put the pieces together and realize that Roy, because Roy's evacuating with everybody else, and
Mm.
Layla hasn't had her healing, that's like something else is going on. It has to be somebody else. It can't be Roy. Um, so we start to realize that like it must be Sue Ann.
Yeah, Dean kind of sees her. She's chanting in the corner, isn't she?
Yeah.
Or she's like she's got her back turned to him. So he
Yeah.
goes over and grabs her and realizes that she's got one of those crosses as a necklace, and
Mhm.
she's I don't know if she's praying. Or how would you say it? Was she praying or
She's chanting in
chanting or
Latin.
something?
Yeah, because again, Latin
Yeah.
is the language of magic, clearly.
And then she realizes that she's been caught, but she shouts for the police. There's police or sheriff's deputies or something
Yeah.
there, isn't there? And they so she shouts for them so they to take Dean out.
Yeah, she's playing so helpless. She's like, she goes full Republican woman villain. She goes, "Help me." She went full Karen. She goes to the police, "Help me. This bad man. This bad man's gonna hurt me." Like, that's the vibe, okay? So then the police
Yeah,
grab Dean, don't they? Um,
yeah.
and Dean Dean cracks me up because he's acting like he's going along with it, but you just know that vengeance is gonna come, okay? We know his track record with the police, and there's something gonna come next, and I just find it so funny. So, what happens next?
So when they take Dean out,
Mhm.
Sue Ann then tries to guilt trip him as well, which I wrote down because
She
it annoyed
does,
me.
yeah.
And she says, like, after Roy healed you, and then she says, I'm very disappointed in you, Dean. I'm like, fuck off.
Oh, yeah, 100%. She's such a hypocrite,
Very
it's great.
disappointed in you.
She
Like,
is the
great.
devil. Yeah, she's all like, "I'm
Sorry.
not angry, I'm just disappointed." Like, that's like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
condescending speech that she gives, yeah.
And it's like, you're the one in the wrong, like, not him. And the police, they have a weird interaction as well because he's like, if we catch you around here again, we'll put the fear of God into you. Do you understand? And I was like, what a weird thing to say to someone. And also a threat.
No, that makes total sense because the police really are in the pocket of the church. So that tracked for me, like, that's quite realistic.
Well, that's just a weird thing to say though. Like, we'll put the fear of God into you.
Totally
Okay.
normal. That's a Southern American or, like, conservative Christian thing to say, that's 100%. Yeah. It loses
Oh,
something in cultural translation.
okay. Well, Dean was funny because he makes a snarky comment back to them again, like he usually does. So he says, yes, sir. Fear of God. Got it. Like in a really sarcastic way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're all outside now, and Layla's asking Dean why he did that. And he is genuinely sorry. Like he is really, really feels really bad about it for her.
Well, on the other end,
And
we
then
see that the guy's been saved with Sam, and so, like,
yeah,
there's that contrast between him feeling so heart-wrenched and feeling so sorry, but, like, then
yeah,
on the other side, we as the audience know the reason why, and we see that this other guy's life has been saved, so it's like it's a really,
yeah,
interesting set of scenes where you're just, oh, you really feel really heartbroken over it all.
yeah. And as they walk off, we overhear Roy telling Layla's mum that they can have a private session later, and he's going to heal her then. So we
Yeah.
know he's still going to try and heal her.
And then you see Sue Ann, she makes a sideways comment and she, like, looks at Dean, and we know that she's like, "I'm gonna kill you." So
Mm,
we can very much tell that, like, her decision is that Dean's gonna die and Layla's gonna live.
yeah,
And, they're having a
she's
conversation.
evil.
She's so evil, and Sam and Dean are talking, and, Dean says, "God save us from half the people that think they're doing God's work."
Mm.
And I was like, "Ooh." Um 'Cause yeah, that's very accurate and very true to life, and this is where I have my Easter egg, because while the place that they're in is real, there isn't really anything that stood out to me, like, there is another staircase to hell. But, like, I honestly think that's by the by, like, I really think that they based this like, they decided that they wanted to do an Angel of Death, that they wanted to do Grim Reaper lore, and then they were like, "Okay, what can we place adjacent to that that makes sense?" And then that is faith healers. So, people who are apparently stopping or manipulating or pushing away death, that's the thing that makes the most sense to pair that with. So I found a
Mm.
couple of different sources talking about faith healers and like ones that I sort of feel like align with what's going on in the show. So the one that I think really, really nails it is there is a guy called Peter Popoff. And if you watch his sermons, very funny. Like if you don't take them seriously, they are hilarious. I've put in a video clip for you guys in my show notes, a YouTube one of him conducting a fraudulent healing where you can literally hear his wife, who's like the mastermind, over his we call it an earwig, where you have like a little thing in your ear and you can hear someone talking to you. Is
Yeah.
colloquially called that. So she's talking to him and she's saying like, I hope you can hear me, because if you can't hear me, you're in trouble. And then she's feeding him all of this information live that's making him look like God is giving him all this information about his congregation. So he's saying people's names, he's talking about like what their wants and desires are. So it's partly from like observation, like cold reading, and then partly they had them fill out these prayer cards. I'm doing sarcastic air quotes, you guys. Where they give all this information, and then she has all the prayer cards. She's telling him what people's names are and all this information about them, like what their ailment is and all these other things. So to them, it looks like God is working through him. And that he
Mm.
just knows everything, but really it's a con. And so in this case, the preacher guy is actually in on it, but the wife is still like the mastermind. And I just thought they were really interesting parallels. So it makes him look psychic and magical. And again, Roy kind of does look psychic and magical in this episode, but he's not. It's kind of an illusion. And we're left to wonder if he has a little bit of a gift because of what he says to Dean, or if that was just like a lucky guess. Because at the end of the
Mhm.
day, we don't really know. Um, so Popoff was incredibly wealthy. Like when we talk about these faith healers, especially these TV evangelicals, it's wild. So Popoff, who we know was a fraud, who got exposed live on American TV as being a fraud, had more assets than 800, like I don't know if it was like 1,000. Yeah, 800,000. And then when he was exposed, he put these assets up for sale. Um, so he got exposed on the Johnny Carson show February of 1986, and there's a little bit of footage of that on YouTube. And the guy who exposed him was a magician by the name of James Randi. So he's a lot like Darren Brown. He like predates Darren Brown. He's a magician and he sees people getting conned by things that he recognizes from a magician's kind of like playbook. And he decides
Yeah.
that this is wrong and he wants to expose these people for what they're doing because it's harmful. So he talks about how Popoff had 2 million in cash stashed away in the house before he sold it after he got revealed to be a fraud. That he bragged about that his personal expenses included a monthly payment of 5 grand to one of LA's most expensive interior decorators. And that to apply his 300,000 bill for redesigning the Popoff residence, um, the Peter Popoff Evangelical Association paid the bill every single month, meaning the money that he was taking in from people that he was like basically defrauding. And then it goes on to talk about like how he did what he did. So the healing of the blind, again, sarcastic air quotes. He says the method that faith healers will often use is they will um, talk about so that they can see how many fingers they are holding up. However, this is fraudulent. Randy writes, it consists of Grant asking the subject, he's talking about a different guy now, but it's when that they all use, asking the subject to tell him how many fingers he is holding up, then placing the microphone before the subject's mouth and at the same time saying the required number out loud, which the subject merely repeats. So basically, they discuss with this person how many fingers are there in a quiet way that other people can't hear. And then when the person repeats the information back, that's taken as this blind person can actually see how many fingers are in front of their face. And so that's one
Ah,
of the ways that the fraud carries on. Another thing that they do is they'll have people planted in the audience to take the provided wheelchairs that are at these venues and sit in them, and then they'll pretend to be healed. So they'll get up and walk away. And it's like, oh, well, of course, because they were plants, like they could always walk. Um,
yeah.
then he would also use illusions when he was doing things like straightening up somebody who had like a leg that was shorter than the other leg. So Randy documented him healing this same woman twice. And she said that she was confused about it. She believed what was happening, but he's saying that if he'd actually done what he'd claimed that he'd done and lengthened her leg twice to the degree that he'd claimed that he had, she would have been completely crooked, but the other way around. She would have had one leg that was like way longer than the other leg. And
Mm,
when you break it down like that, it becomes really ridiculous and really silly, but it boils down to taking advantage of people's hopes and
yeah.
their faith and then basically completely fleecing them. And then on this article, I found the really interesting thing is the article that I pulled a lot of this from is from a Christian. I don't know if it's a ministry or a personal page, just talking about how faith healing isn't really real Christianity. So this is coming from within Christianity itself to like debunk all this. There's a pastor called Dennis McCallum, and he wrote that because of the First Amendment to the US Constitution, the government will not pass laws involving religion. American churches are free from normal requirements for disclosures like those applying to businesses, meaning that churches can keep their books secret and even the government cannot audit them if they refuse. Unfortunately, this well intentioned law has resulted in the church being the most unaccountable institution in America. Churches have become the perfect venue for criminals and con men to ply their trade while remaining unaccountable and even remaining tax exempt. So this is kind of reiterating when we talk about like the vast sums that people like pop off can accrue for themselves. The point of doing it from within the church itself is because he'll never have to pay taxes. Whatever he fleeces, he
Hmm.
keeps all of it. And that's like the massive appeal. And so when you wonder to yourself how there's so many con men in the evangelical circuit where you see all these like big circus tent guys, that's why. That's why they've
Yeah.
chosen to go into Christianity and do it from there is because they're really protected by those roles. And there's a lot of examples of harm being done. There's a BBC article that I found that talks about a woman named Audrey Reynolds in the 90s went to see a faith healer. Um, and she was asking for help with an ankle injury, epilepsy, and learning difficulties. And she visited an American faith healer called Morris Cerullo. After she did that, she stopped taking her medication for her epilepsy, and unfortunately, she had a fit in the bath and ended up drowning in her bath because he told
Mm.
her that she was all better. And the coroner in the report said it's a tragedy that she went to this meeting and thought that she had been cured of everything. Sadly, it led to her death. Because I think some people will
That's
say, what's the harm in giving people a little bit of hope? And like, the truth is it's not giving them a little bit of hope. It's when they are being lied to outright, like being told that
yeah.
they're all better and they believe it because
And then stop taking what's making them better.
yeah, because in their mind, a church leader is someone who's a safe person who has authority,
Mm.
right? So they view themselves as totally safe within that advice, which they should be. Like people should be good people in positions of power, but unfortunately that's just not the world that we live in. Um so to my mind, this is what they're calling out in this episode.
Hmm. Yeah. And that first bit you talked about with the wife being behind it, that's definitely really
Very
seems to link to
much.
this episode,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Very much
I
so,
wonder
yeah.
if it was that earlier than this. Could it have been based on them maybe?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So this stuff occurred in the, early '90s. So this is
Mm.
definitely, like, before this episode
Yeah.
was written, and I'm pretty sure that it's based on them.
Yeah. Interesting. So yeah, so that kind of links to so when Sam and Dean are at the motel and they're discussing Roy and whether they think that he knows what his wife is doing, whether he's like in on it, and they decide that they don't think he is. They don't think he knows that Sue-Ann is doing what she's doing. Um, there was a bit where Sam shows Dean the journal that he found at the house, and he says it was written by a priest who went dark side. That just made me laugh because I was like, that's such a silly thing to say. um, oh, and he says that in there's a binding spell for trapping a reaper, so that's then they kind of working out what Sue-Ann is doing,
Yeah.
and they're discussing her motives as well. So like they understand that it's her desperation because her husband was dying, and she's trying to keep the reaper away from Roy. So we work out from that she has made some sort of deal, hasn't she, with this reaper maybe,
Mhm.
saying that if she gives him other people, he'll leave Roy alone, sort of thing. Um, so she was just trying to keep her husband alive, but at what cost? But they don't understand why she is still controlling it now, even though Roy is better. And that's when I was saying about how it's because she must have made some sort of deal that's ongoing.
Yeah, I mean,
Uh,
I would suggest, based on the witchcraft that I see in this episode and my knowledge of the occult, that it's not that she's made a deal, but she's entrapped the Reaper.
oh yeah, that is what they say as well.
Yeah, so she's in
The entrapment spell.
yeah, she's used an entrapment spell, and she's effectively hexing. It's less that she's controlling him. If you look at the breakdown of the occult stuff, if you like look at her altar and what's going to happen in a minute when she starts targeting them,
Uh-huh.
um, you see like she's drawn an X in blood over a photo, which is a targeting spell. She also has
Uh,
a lot of death and hexing paraphernalia on her altar. So she's doing really like dark, 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 darker magic. Um, she's used her control over the Reaper to effectively use him as like a hammer to get rid of people that she does not like. So she is actually practicing black magic, like dark evil witchcraft. Um,
mhm.
and we see that from her altar.
Yeah, that makes more sense actually. And that's why they have the binding spell. They're trying to break the binding spell.
Yep. Because they know that, like Sam says, that she's going to reap the whirlwind or something to that effect. Like he talks about having the Reaper on the leash, like having like a great white on a leash or something like that. That like eventually, that's so much
Mhm,
power that's going to turn around and bite you in the ass. Um, and it's true because he is a natural force. Or if you look at it in the
mhm,
supernatural world, we have like the idea of Christianity, don't we? So we have God, we have angels, and we definitely have demons. And so far, we've really only encountered demons, but it suggests that the other guys are there, right? The opposite end of the team.
mhm.
So, in this instance, she's taken an angel of death, effectively, which is what the Grim Reapers are usually portrayed
Yeah.
as, right? And she's bound it to do what she's telling it to do. And all that she's telling it to do is kill people that she doesn't like. So she has literally taken an angel of death and tried to make it her bitch. There is
Mm,
no way that is going to end well. And Sam, that's what he's talking about when he says she's going to reap the whirlwind eventually. Like she's going to get fucked because you can't control that. It takes one thing. So apparently, her tying spell, her binding spell, her agreement, whatever it was, whatever way she entrapped this particular Reaper is connected to that charm that she has. And then when that gets broken, she's no more ability to contain it and she gets
mhm.
fucked. So like she's dead. That's it. The end. And that's a great scene.
Yeah. So how I've got a question. So how if she's trapped this Reaper and is getting him to kill people she doesn't like, why do they need the whole healing bit? How is the healing happening?
So she's just taking the life force that is now removed from the people who are dead and transferring it to whoever Roy has his
Oh,
hands on.
okay.
It's the illusion of morality that she's built for herself around her practice to make herself believe that she's the good guy. She's some kind of megalomaniac.
Yeah. Okay, so they're trying to find Sue-Ann's altar, basically. So Sam goes to find that. Dean creates a diversion by getting the officers to chase him.
Oh,
And then Sam
this
finds
part with Dean and the officers, I have notes. Okay, I have notations. So, Jensen Ackles said in an interview that his favorite movie is or one of his favorite movies, one of his biggest sources is Cool Hand Luke. And I don't know if you've seen that film, but it's about a man who gets on the wrong side of the law and has a lot of arguments with police or like corrections officers. It's both, okay? And when you realize that Dean's dynamic with the police makes complete sense and it's so cool.
uh,
And this is a very Cool Hand Luke like moment where he sees the cops and he goes, "Hey, you going to put that fear of God in me?" Um, so he provokes them to chase him. Then he's running and boom, suddenly there's Cujo. That's my Stephen King reference. There's a dog that is literally fucking
yeah.
Cujo that is jump scare out of nowhere. He's running through these trailers. It's so redneck and so country. I'm like, this is so on point. This is exactly where you find these fucking tent people. Okay. So then and he's like, oh God. And the part that made me laugh like a second or third time is we don't see how he gets away from Cujo the dog. He's just suddenly on top of the RV for
Yeah,
no reason.
it's on top.
How did he climb through a skylight? Like that's the only thing that makes any sense to me because some of them have these like windows in the top. So I assume that he fucking leapt,
Hmm.
okay, like an Olympian to get away from fucking Cujo dog and flew up to the top of this fucking RV. And it cracks me up so good. It's so funny. I just write down Dean's face on top of the RV because you just see his head poking out and he looks like, oh God, am I alive? Am I still am I still here? It's pure shock and it's so, so funny.
That was funny. So while that's happening, Sam finds a cellar and he
Mhm.
goes in and that's where he finds the altar. And then there's a photo of Dean with a cross over his face, which is what you'd said about before.
Mm.
And
So
then
we know
Sue-Ann
she's gonna
appears.
murder Dean for sure. She's like, Dean
Yeah.
has to die.
And then she says, I gave your brother life so I could take it away. Or something along those lines. I don't know if
Oh
that was
yeah, she
exact
thinks she's
quote.
God. She's all ego at this point.
Yeah. And then Sam gets angry and knocks over the altar, and I wrote thirst trap.
This whole sequence where so she tricks him into this room, okay, and then she
Yeah.
bars him inside. This whole sequence is so hot for Sam. Sam is throwing the altar around trying to save Dean. And then also he picks up this big piece of wood because he's trying to work out how he's going to escape so he can save Dean. Again, this is the
Yeah.
Save Dean episode. And he all manly, okay, picks up this huge 2x4 situation or whatever it is and rams it through a window so that he can climb out the window to go rescue his brother. That is a that's a Sam thirst trap.
Yeah, it is.
Yep, that's a Sam thirst
And
trap.
there's a random bit here where Sue-Ann starts rhyming because she's saying, Sam, can't you see the Lord chose me?
I missed that. That's amazing.
That isn't all of what she says, but that's the first bit. And I was just like, why are you rhyming?
The other thing that I loved in this sequence is among all of the sexy Samness, there's a point where she says that part and he says, he's not your God. And I was just like,
Yeah.
that is fire. That is absolute fire because she is not working with the God that she thinks that she's working with, especially not with what she's doing over there at that altar. So like
No.
100%. Thought that was such a good burn. And I was like, okay, he's making scathing remarks. He's running to save his brother. He's tearing things apart. I understand the Sam people. Okay. I get it. He's hot right now.
So while this is happening, Roy starts the healing session for Layla. And there's a really creepy bit. So all Dean's running through, like, I don't know where all the cars are, and all the lights start going out one by one, and
That
that's
is very
like
creepy.
proper horror film.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
that was super scary, and it starts getting a little darker and a little mistier, and then you see our super creepy looking Reaper guy, um,
yeah,
begin to pursue him, and you just go, "Oh, fuck." Like,
uh huh.
"Sam, you need to hurry up because Dean's about to die again."
And also because he doesn't run away. So I wrote down that I think maybe on some level he wants to save Layla, like he's gonna just sacrifice
Yeah.
himself to save her. And then Sam finds Sue-Ann again and breaks the cross or the necklace. Now I wrote, is this some sort of vial actually now? Because it looks like there was blood inside it when he smashes it.
Yeah, so it's hollow, so, like, it's ornamental, and it has a secret compartment on the inside where she has blood. So
Yeah.
she has made a blood pact. I think we're led to believe that's how she's
Okay.
managed to entrap the Reaper. She's done some old school magic and entrapped him this way. So when that is broken, that means the seal on that spell is broken, which is accurate to
Yeah.
witchcraft. That then means that the Reaper is free and he can do whatever he
That's
wants.
broken the spell.
Yep.
Yeah. And that bit is really creepy because the Reaper stops attacking Dean and he just goes straight after her.
It's brilliant. I love it.
Um,
Yeah.
and he gives her a smile, which was really scary. He smiles at her, and I was like, "Oh, that was
Yeah,
that
it
just
really is.
may
It's
gave me
like what you
shivers."
said. It's like what you said about the gentleman in that episode of Buffy. It's
Yeah,
scary, and it's that, like, same, like, rigor mortis terrifying smile, like, evil, like, Kubrick stare smile. It's super, super
yeah,
creepy. And then Sam, who's just saved the day, starts to walk back towards, um, Dean to get to the car and find Dean, and he walks off
yeah.
alone into this spooky mist that starts, like, kicking up, and I wrote down, "That is completely badass." Like, if you had
Mm,
that down as a thirst trap, I would not be mad about it, because that was such a cool scene.
yeah. And there was like thunder just as she was being killed as well. I noted, which just adds to the creep factor again.
Oh, yeah,
Like,
100%. We
they know what
go
they're
full
doing.
gothic, super scary, into this complete, like, terrifying gothic hero walks away moment. And I was
Like
just like,
mist. Yeah.
"Sam, are you thirst trapping me? I'm not mad at you. It's fine. It's allowed."
So then we're on the last scene. So it's the next day. Dean is feeling really guilty because obviously with all of this, Layla has still not been healed.
Yeah.
Um, he asks Sam if what they did was the right thing and says it doesn't feel like it.
Yeah.
And then Layla knocks on the door because we find out that Sam has called her and she says that she went back to see Roy, but it didn't work. And then her and Dean have a little chat.
The best
And I
part
just wrote, he
is
really likes her.
the best part is, though, is when, Layla says, "Oh, yeah, Sam called me to say that you wanted to say goodbye before you leave." Dean's face is a fucking
Yeah.
picture. Like, Dean looks at Sam, and Sam's in the background, and Sam goes, "I'm gonna go get a soda." He's like, he's so set them up.
I'll leave you two alone.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah. But this bit's really cute because he actually looks kind of shy when he's talking to her. Like
This
he's
is what I'm
normally all
saying.
like,
Dean is pure at heart, okay? I don't care what anyone
yeah.
says. Deep down, he's pure at heart.
And then there's the bit at the end where she says that he says that he's going to pray for her, even though he's not much of the praying type. And I thought he was cute in that bit as well.
Yeah, yeah, no, I love that scene. Um, I love it so much. Because he says, like what you said, but he says, "But I'm gonna pray for you." And then she
Yeah.
says, "Well, there's a miracle right there." And it's so poignant, man. You feel that. It just knocks you off your
Yeah.
feet. And it is really beautiful. And it is a little bit of a miracle to take Dean Winchester to prayer. I'm not going to lie. I'm going to agree with her. That is kind of a miracle. So I like that we end on real faith and arguably a little bit of a miracle.
Yeah. So yes, overall this episode is just a bit depressing really, and there wasn't a lot of funny bits. Like there's usually funny and scary at the same time. There were some scary bits though. What did you give the scare rating?
Hmm. The thing is, while there are scary things, it's more the, like, fear of death that's the scary part than and, like, the Reaper's scary, but
Yeah.
he's not, like there are moments, but overall, throughout the whole episode, he's not really a main character, like, he's not, like it's not really a monster of the week episode, is it? He's sort of there a few times, and he's impactful when he's there, but it just doesn't feel as scary to me as some of the other episodes, like, it's not as scary as Bloody Mary.
No.
I feel like I can really only give
No.
it, like, a 6 or a 6.5 maybe on the scare rating.
I gave it an 8, but just for the Reaper's smile at the end.
Oh, that is creepy.
Because that was really scary.
That was
And
really scary.
the lights turning off as he was going to chase Dean.
Yeah.
That last bit really was the scary bit.
Yeah.
Um, Villain hot or not?
She's not hot.
No. No for Sue-Ann and no for the Reaper.
Yeah, no, she's not hot. He's not a villain technically because he's been forced to do all this stuff, so she's the only real villain in the story.
Did you have a favourite quote?
"Hey, you gonna put that fear of God in me?"
That's funny. Mine was the whole exchange with the protester where they're like, he's a fraud. Amen, brother. You keep
Keep
up the
up the
good
good
work.
work. Yeah, that's a really good one.
Oh, I had a note about music. So on IMDb, it says that Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult was supposed to be in this episode, or it was in this episode. And I'm like, that would have been perfect. Why have they taken it out for these newer? Like, I don't really understand the music. I know we've talked about this before, but
Mhm.
I just feel like the original music that was in the show would be such a good soundtrack, and
Yeah.
we're not getting that.
Yeah, it is very annoying. Kripke is equally annoyed. I read a rant that he went on
Hmm.
about, like, this exact thing, so he's on our side.
Why is it? Is it because like Amazon Prime don't have the rights to those music? But surely it's the show. Does that happen a lot? Do they
I
change the
can't
music?
remember the exact reasoning behind it, but, like, when it aired, there's different music
Hmm.
to when it's in syndication in the form that it is now. And I think it had something to do with the studio and the amount of money that they were willing to pay or weren't willing to pay for rights and licensing and stuff. I can't remember the exact argument. But it's something
But
like
that's
that.
part
Like
of
it's
it.
some kind of loophole or thing to jump through.
Yeah.
And
But surely
I was just
they've
gonna say it
chosen
is
specific
confusing.
songs. Hmm.
Because also
Because that song was supposed to.
I remember watching it when it came out, and I remember it with the original music, and it's way better.
Yeah. That song is supposed to be in the bit where the jogger scene
Yeah,
where she's dying and the breathing guy's being healed.
yeah.
What was your best thirst trap?
Um, it is when Dean is messing with the police. It's the same as my favorite quote when he says, "Hey, you gonna put the fear of God in me?" Because he is winding up the police, and that's always hot, frankly. Like him bucking authority or like challenging authority and being rebellious. So hot.
Mine is the bit where Sam's getting angry and destroying the altar.
Yeah. I love that sequence. If I was gonna pick a Sam thirst trap, though, it has to be the moment when he, like, breaks out of that window, when he picks up that big piece of wood and just smashes it through.
Yeah. Yeah, that was around that same bit.
It's kind of all part and parcel
Um,
in that scene, isn't it?
yeah. Um, I think that's it.
Yeah.
The next episode is called Route 666, which sounds fun.
It is fun. Do you remember when I said that there will be a car episode?
Oh yeah,
I'm not
cool.
gonna tell you what's gonna happen, but I just feel like there might be a Stephen King reference,
Oh
you know? That's
well,
all
I
I'm
wonder
gonna
what that
say.
might be. Stephen King in a car. Ooh, I wonder.
Although, it happens again later in another season when they're like, "Remember that? We liked that. Let's do more of that."
Well, it happened in the first episode.
It's reoccurring. It's a reoccurring
Mm.
reference throughout just forever.
Well, so I'm looking forward to that one because I hope it's
Mhm.
better than this one because now we've recorded this episode, I'm like, yeah, that I'm just done with this. Done with this episode.
No, I know, I feel the same way. It was really hard going.
So should we wrap it up there?
Mhm.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.